Hello, I'm Bernard Norcott-Mahany. I work at the Blueford branch of the Kansas City Public Library. April is National Poetry Month, and this April I am reading poems of Pindar, who was a professional poet. He was a poet for hire. He went around and got people to pay him money to write victory poems. They're called epinician odes by scholars in honor of victories that they had at the Olympics or some other event. People who competed in those events were generally quite wealthy. Often they were, members of royal families, and so they had the money to spend. And of course, the big thing for the Greeks was, like, would they be remembered after their death? Well, there was a plaque put up with their name on it as a victor at Olympia or at Pytho or one of the other sites. But, that's just the name. What you want is something, more bigger and more more moving. And so these guys would hire Pindar. Pindar would do a big, Broadway production ode in their honor, and then of course that would carry on. And of course, those who bet on Pindar, they made a good bet. We do not have a lot of Greek lyric poetry, but of Greek lyric poetry, most of what we have is by Pindar. If there's a single poet that we have like a big chunk of, it's actually Pindar. So those people who bet on him, it was a pretty good bet. We're going to look at two poems, one poem today, one poem tomorrow, poems number 10, Olympia 10, and Olympia 11. They're both for the same victor at the same event. They're in the reverse order in the book, so 10 actually was written after and performed after 11. Olympia 10 was performed in 474 BCE, probably in Locri, this town in Italy, where the victor was from. It was probably performed in his town 2 years after the Olympic event in 476, where he won the victory. It's promised in the number 11. So number 11 was actually performed at the Olympic Games, probably on the last day it was like a week-long event. At the end of that, there was probably some sort of performance of like shorter victory odes that were done on the spot. And in that, Pindar promises the victor, in this case it's Hagesidamos of Western Locri, who was the victor in boys boxing. So he probably promised the boy, or he promised the boy's parents, that he would do a bigger poem in number 11. He makes the promise and he delivers it in number 10. And there apparently was some concern that he didn't keep his promise, because this is 2 years later that he actually delivers on it. And you'll see the opening, he sort of alludes to that. Pindar in this poem, the myth that he alludes to involves Heracles and Kyknos. This is a battle where Heracles initially was losing, but then rose up and won, which my guess is what happened with Hagesidamos at the Olympics, that it looked like he was going to lose, but then he actually won. That's my guess. The poem then goes on to talk about how Heracles founded the Olympic Games. So according to the story, when he went off to clean the Aegean stables, he then asked for payment from Aegeus. Aegeus refused to pay him. He then got an army together. They went back and basically taught him a lesson in manners. Taught Aegeus a lesson in manners. Aegeus was the king of Elis. Elis is the main town that controls the area where the Olympics were held. So, and there was an athletic contest that was set up after Heracles won a victory there. He then set up sort of games. The real Olympic Games, of course, started in 796 BCE, and the Greeks actually used those Olympics starting in 796 as their way of dating. So Heracles lived around 1250 maybe BCE, quite a bit of time before. Pindar names a few victors from that first Olympic event in this poem. So, without further ado, Olympia, poem number 10 for Hagesidamos of Western Locri, winner in the boys' boxing. Read me the name of the Olympian victor, Archestratus' son. Where in my heart is it written? I had forgotten, I owe him a sweet song. But Muse, and you also, Truth, daughter of Zeus, keep off with uplifted hand the lying reproach that I have done wrong to a friend. From far away the future has come upon me and made me ashamed of my deep debt. Yet interest has power to deliver me from wounding complaints. See how the flowing wave now drowns the rolling shingle, and how we shall carry out our contract to his dear delight. For simplicity rules the city of the Locrians in the west, and their care is for Calliope and brazen Ares. Even prodigious Heracles was routed in battle with Cycnos. Let Hagesidamos, who has won in the boxing at Olympia, thank Ilus, as Patroclus thanked Achilles. One born to prowess may be wedded and stirred to win huge glory, if a god be his helper. Without labor, few find joy, a light upon life that makes up for all efforts. The ordinances of Zeus have roused me to sing of the grandest of games, which by the ancient tomb of Pelops, with contests 6 in number, Heracles founded when he slew Poseidon's son, fine Teitos, and slew Eurytos to exact from violent Augeas, willing from an unwilling giver, the wages of his serfdom. In bushes under Cleone he trapped and broke them on the road, for his Terinthian army, when it sat in the vales of Elis, had been slaughtered before by the insolent Moliones. The Epeans' king, cheaters of strangers, soon afterward saw his rich land in stubborn flame, and under strokes of iron into a deep pit of doom, his own city sinking. There is no way to put aside the struggle against the stronger. And he, last of all, in his folly, met capture and escaped not precipitous death. The strong son of Zeus drove the whole of his host and all his booty to Pisa, and measured a holy place for his mighty father. He fenced the Altis and marked it off in a clean space, and the ground encircling it. He set for rest at supper in honor of the ford at Alpheus, and the 12 kings of the gods. To Cronus' hill he gave a name, for before it was nameless when Oenomaus ruled, and drenched with many a snowstorm. In this first birthday rite the fates stood near at hand, and he who alone proves the very truth, time. In his forward march he has revealed all clearly. Now Heracles portioned the booty, war's gift, made sacrifice, and founded the 4th year's feast with the first Olympiad and the winning of victories. Who won the new crown with hands, feet, or chariot? Set in the thoughts a prayer for the struggle, and got it indeed. In the foot race, the best was Oeonus, Lachymnios' son, who ran a straight stretch on his feet. He came from Medea, pressing his company. In wrestling, Echemos brought honor to Tegea, and Doriclos won the prize for boxing, a dweller in Tiryns' city. In the 4-horse chariot, Samos won, Helirotheus' son, from Mantinea. With the javelin, Phrastor hit the mark, and Nicias, circling his hand with a stone, threw it far beyond all. His fellow fighters flashed into a loud uproar. The evening was lit by the lovely light of the fair-faced moon. All the holy place was loud with song in the glad feasting, like the music of banquets. We follow the first beginnings, and in the namesake song of glorious triumph, we shall sing aloud of the thunderbolt and the fire-flung shaft of Zeus, the noise awakener, the flaming lightning, fitting in every victory. The luxuriant music of song shall answer the pipe. Late indeed they have appeared by glorious Dirce, but as the son of his wife, long desired, is to a father come to youth's opposite, and warms his heart exceedingly with love. For wealth that gets for shepherd a stranger from an alien house is most hateful to a dying man. So when a man is done well unsung, Hagesidamos, and comes to death's threshold, he is breathed to no purpose, and one small delight by his labor. But on you Delight is shed by the sweet-voiced harp and the pleasant flute. Your far-flung glory is in the charge of the Pierian maidens, daughters of Zeus. I lend my hand to them eagerly. I have embraced the Locrians' famous people. I drench with my honey the city of noble men. I have praised the loved son of Archestratus, whom I saw winning with valor of hand by the Olympian altar in those days, beautiful in body and touched by the youthfulness which once kept shameless death away from Ganymede, with help of the Cyprus born. So that is the poem Olympia 10 for Hagesidamos of Western Locri, victor in the boys' boxing. And just so you know, my assistant here was my pug, Emma. See you tomorrow.